Hey, what is up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, this is my No Time to Die, the latest 007, the last one that Daniel Craig is going to be in. My review of that movie. It is late. It is very late. I apologize. A lot of stuff's been going on. Um, so, what to say of this movie? I was underwhelmed. Is probably what comes to mind for me. I didn't hate this movie. Uh, like for the most part, I mean, I think it was a good send off. As a James Bond film, though, I found it to be one of the more boring, not as good movies. I think they took it a bit too serious, and I think the runtime was too long. To be honest, this thing ran in at an epic. How the heck long was this? This was 163 minutes, so almost an hour and 45 minutes. And whew, it showed. There was a large part, probably toward like the second act. Like the first act was fun. I loved the fights. I think they did great on the fights. Like the action on this was pretty on par. There were five or six fights, so I mean that was decent. But there was a large portion like in the middle third of this movie where it just like it kind of dragged. Like, and there were plot threads that were just introduced and then just dropped. I mean, in terms of casting, I think they had an amazing cast, amazing actors. The problem is they just threw in so many of these characters, and then you never see them again. It just vanished. They just vanish into the nether, and it's just like, okay, bye. Like, what was the point of this whole thing? Uh, so I wasn't a fan of that. So I wasn't. It seemed, like family. It was, which was a little bit weird. I mean, the two of them. Let me see what the age of this. So how old is Daniel Craig? He is 53. How old is Leah? I believe it is. I'm not sure. It's a French name. She's yeah. I knew she was younger. I didn't realize what. Geez. So she's 36, and my God, it shows kind of awkwardly in that. Uh, it seemed weird that she would be the one after everybody. I don't know. I've been watching Bond films for a long time. I've seen all of them. Uh, you know, and there were some epic ones like Sean Connery, still my favorite, followed by Pierce Brosnan. I will say that I do think that Daniel Craig is my second or third favorite. I think he did a great job. I don't know. The story in this one just kind of set me back. Like everything looked really beautiful. This was a James Bond film. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you had great action, good fights. Um, the story is kind of is always going to be nonsensical. Like that. I mean, that's just the nature of these things. This one just seemed like it took itself a little too seriously for me, which is too bad because while I do think it was a decent way to send off Daniel Craig's James Bond, I don't think it was executed in a way that truly did it justice. I thought we'll get into that in spoilers though. So, um, I mean, most of the stuff that if you like James Bond, if you're a hardcore James Bond fan, you'll love this film. Like this film it hit all the pieces. It's just a few picadillos hit me, and that's personal. Like I said, this is just my opinion. A lot of people may have different opinions. Um, but yeah, this one just seemed a little underwhelming to me for what I was expecting. And I mean, I've seen some real stinker James Bond films, so I mean, this does definitely not come close to the worst ever. In terms of Daniel Craig's time, though, I think this was the worst Daniel Craig James Bond film um, that he's done, and he's done four, I believe. Yeah, he's done. But is it four? Yeah. I'm checking to make sure that I believe it's four. If I'm wrong, you can go ahead and yell at me in the comments. But yeah, uh, of the ones I've seen, this one was probably the worst. And it's a little weird. Like I kind of had to go back and look into the other ones because this one was delayed, obviously, for the pandemic. Um, so it came out very late. Obviously, it was supposed to come out last year, and yeah, it got put off. So I had to check some things. It's been about 5 years since the last James Bond film, so it's been a while, guys. Um, I mean, what else is there to say? Like this was, I mean, there's nothing that was done in this movie, from how I see it, that wasn't done better in another Daniel Craig James Bond film. Which, yeah, I hate to say it. I really do. It hurts me because I actually really enjoyed these films. But there it is. But I mean, I did find a lot of it very entertaining. Again, the action was good. Uh, I believe with what they were given, the actors were good. There were some weird parts, which we'll get to in spoilers. But for the most part, this was not a bad movie. This was an adequate James Bond. This was a not as great as I think they'd hoped it would be send off to Daniel Craig's James Bond. Um, but nonetheless, here it is. And like I said, if you're a hardcore Bond fan, you're probably gonna like this film, and I hope you do. I really do. I mean, I watch a lot of movies, and it it breaks my heart to say bad things about franchises that I love, and I love James Bond, but I feel like I owe it to be honest about it as well. So that's why I do these, and because they're just super fun. So I think I can go at this point into what my rating was for this. So this one I'm giving a 7. Uh, so this is a, because I mean there have been some bad movies out there. So this might, and because I love James Bond so much, I'll admit this might be on a curve. Like if I watch this movie again, I might hate it more. But I feel very comfortable right now just giving it a 7. It was entertaining. It was fun to watch. It hit all the points that it needed to for a James Bond film. It's just its story held it back, um, as well as a bunch of side characters. So yeah, it is just kind of sad, but this is not a bad movie. Um, Again, if you're a Bond fan, go see this movie. Why not? And I think that is it for this review section. So I will be back in a moment with the spoilers. See you next time. Hey, what is up there, guys? It is Rapmark here with the spoiler section of the Time to Die movie. So, what was I talking about in terms of like characters and stuff like this? There were so many characters that were just thrown in, and then they just disappear, disappear into the nether, which yeah was awful. Like Madeline Swan. Uh, well, first of all, it looked really awkward that she was the love interest because she's considerably younger than Daniel Craig, and like I said, there were parts in the movie where it really showed, and it was kind of awkward. But yeah, I mean, she is in the beginning, and then she disappears for a while, and then she comes at the start of the third act, and she's periodically there apparently. So it starts off with her as a little kid, and her father is Mr. White, which is a previous Bond villain of another movie, which I don't know. It would take me probably a while to find. Moving on, and that's another thing. The whole Saffron, Lucifer Safin. There we go. So Remy Rami Malek, he's an amazing actor. They did not use him anywhere near enough. He just sort of shows up at certain parts of the film, and he doesn't, you know, portray dread or fear or respect. Like Remy could do such a charismatic character without a doubt, and I think it just they did not execute it. The writing did not make for a very good character with his villain, and I don't think he deserved to be the one that kills Bond. So Bond gets killed. He essentially gets nanobots implanted with him, where if he gets near his Madeline and her daughter, their daughter, as you later find out, it will kill them. So, which is still like I don't know, and so just the way it was done, it's just like I get that it was supposed to be a touching moment, but I think there's a difference between it's just like I'm just gonna die here and be vaporized, and you see it, he's dead. uh, he, I mean, it would. I think it would have been cool if it was something like he had to manually like keep the doors open to the bomb shelter or something like that. I don't know. It was. I thought. Like I get what they were trying to do with the send off, and I do think it was like adequate. But I mean, I also think there was a lot of bad writing that was entailed with it, and it just made Bond a lot dumber than you would have expected him to be, which is unfortunate. I mean, the whole thing is there's these nanites that apparently go after DNA, so you can actually train them to or program them or whatever to kill whoever. So uh, Blofeld, if you'll remember from the last movie, I do remember him vaguely, but yeah, it's just like um, so it the first scene after her childhood is they are in Italy, I believe, to visit Vesper Lynd's tomb, which is a character from a few movies back. You kind of have to do some research in on that to figure it out, but it is there. Um, but anyway, he's ambushed by Spectre and is made to think that she did it, and then he leaves her for 5 years. And yeah, so I mean, trust issues I can get, but I mean, the fact that she didn't tell him any of this stuff, The fact that he just disappeared for 5 years. It's just kind of weird. Uh, but anyway, so the main action picks up. He is approached by the CIA. So Felix Leiter, who was he in the last one? I don't even remember. I mean, I know he's like the Felix character has been in a number of James Bond things, and the fact that they killed him off in here is just like shrug. Like there are a lot of side characters. Felix is only one, and it's just like, I get it. Attached people to like, what if no one's seen the James Bond films? Like, who cares about Felix? Like, he barely does anything in this movie. And the Ash Logan character, or is it Logan Ash? There we go. That was kind of nuts. So, but anyway, he asks for Bond's help. He initially declines, and later meets Nomi, who is the MI6 agent who took over the 007. Later, she does give it back. So, I mean, and honestly, she just seemed like a device to move the plot along. Like all of these side characters just all seemed like devices to move the plot along, which is sad because that was my complaint with the last movie I saw. And wow. Anyway, but yeah, after that he decides to help Leiter. So then we meet Paloma, this sort of excitable, plucky, like very apparently new agent, but is not. Like she's pretty badass. And it was cool. Like it was super cool. The party scene, like Bloomfield apparently is watching this whole thing. All of Spectre is there, and he programs the bioweapon, Heracles. He programs that to kill Bond so that they can all watch. But the Russian scientist, Obrachev, he yeah, Oberchev. He reprograms it because he's actually working for Raimi's character, who is what is his name? Safin. Safin, of course. Yes. And he kills all Spectre. All Spectre is dead except for Bloomfield. They all go poof and are killed. So, so after that, they go after and they capture Oberchev, and then you never see Paloma again. I mean, she was a fairly awesome and hot. I'm a sucker for Latinas. Uh, Agent, and this is another one with this movie that like there is a Bond girl per se, but it's a weird spin on it, and I get what they were trying to do. It was weird. But I mean, even not turning Paloma into a Bond girl, like she was fairly awesome. Like, and then she just disappears into the Nether. So Spectre is no more, and that's that. Ugh. So anyway, Ash ends up being a double agent, and then the boat scene. The boat scene it was fun action. That was fun action. He kills later. I forget how the hell it's pronounced. But anyway, so they escape with Orchev, and he escapes the boat. That's the end of Felix Leiter, which is whatever, because if you've never seen a James Bond film, that name means absolutely nothing to you. And even if you are a James Bond fan, the just simplistic way in which he was in this movie and then went out is sad and disappointing. So yeah, he goes. He wants to talk to Bluefield. Blowfield, he'll only talk to one person, and guess who that is? Madeline, of course, the only one. And of course and of course you see Moneypenny and Q. They've been played by a number of things. Even they weren't that great in this film. It's just like Moneypenny was just like, let's do treason. Everything is about treason, and everyone freaking commits treason in this film. It was the writing was just not great in my opinion. And Q, you have these weird out there like situations, and he creates this whatever to do to specifically for that situation, and you don't really get much of that in this. I mean, you have the EMT device, which does come in later. It blows. What's his name? Who he's called. Can I find him real quick? Primo. Yes, he blows Primo's mind. It blows up his eye in his head, and it does not work well for him. All right. So anyway, so he tracks her down to her home in Norway, and I have lost my train of thought. I am so sorry. Anyway, so he goes to visit Overtrev, meets her, and then he touches her. She was coerced by Safin to be infected with these nanobites so that if he touches or gets near her, he'll get infected and he'll die. And then she leaves, and that's finally where Blowfield is just like, it was him who did it because he wanted him to have an empty life of nothingness. And it's just like, oh man. So I mean, the villains are over the top in a lot of ways, but there's just so many. And then he was in and out again really quick. Like, it served no purpose. Why was, except to introduce her, and then she had no purpose. I could go on for hours about just how terrible the writing was for what this should have been. But anyway, so Bond tracks Madeleine after he accidentally kills Blowfield. Finds out she has a 5-year-old daughter, claims not his, even though she is. And then we learn about Safin, who his parents were murdered by her father, who is Mr. White, which that is never really explained. He survived somehow, though he was horribly disfigured, and he's been about revenge ever since. And even though he's destroyed Spectre and killed Blowfield, he continues to because of some weird attachment to Madeline, because he saved her when she had fallen into some ice, and it's pretty nonsensical, which is pretty par for a James Bond movie. But this one was just like they took it way too seriously. So anyway, then there's the forest scene, and that was a super fun action scene. He finally kills Ash and the thugs, but Madeline and Mahilde are captured. So Bond and Nomi have to infiltrate the base, which is an island between Japan and Russia, and they're constantly sending patrols. But yet they never to this island apparently, because how would they not notice, missile silos and hydroponic plants like all over the place. It was weird. And then there was this weird, like, racist, like, completely racist scene with the Russian scientist and Naomi, which, I mean, it was just served as no other reason than to, kill him off, even though she had brutally murdered about 50 other thugs in the facility. It was so that was weird. Um, anyway, so they escape. He's got to go up and open the. He pretty much tells them they need to launch missiles there. So they prepare to launch the missiles. He opens the silo doors because that's what is going to enable like everything to be destroyed without them bouncing off of the armored thing of this is a missile silo that's designed to protect against missiles. So, but I mean, it's also from the Cold War, so we'll just let that go. And so Medlin escapes. Safin releases Mathilde. And Nomi takes them away. He has to stay behind to open the silo doors and then calling the missile in. Because Safin closed the doors again. And then he kills Safin's remaining men. They fight. Safin shoots Bond. He's been shot billions of times before. It's whatever. And then injects him with the nanobots programmed to kill Medlin and Mahilde. So he can never touch them again. Okay. So he kills Safin, opens the silos, and then speaks to the radio, confesses his love. And then he dies. He gets blown up. And then later, M, Moneypenny, Naomi, Q, Tanner drink to Bond's memory as Medlin takes Mahilde to, I believe, another place in Italy where she tells her about her father, James Bond. And that is it. That is the send-off. So, once again, I mean, James Bond stories are always pretty nonsensical, and the characters are always over the top. But this one, I don't know, it seemed like they took it a little too seriously. I mean, it was all about family and stuff like that, which I get. I just don't think it was executed as well as it was. I think the romance was awkward. Madeline looks very young compared to him, but he is a good-looking man, so I don't know. And who knows what age they're supposed to be in this film. Whatever. Yeah, James Bond's been around forever, so, who knows. But yeah, that is everything that goes on and why I gave it what I gave it, which, once again, 7 of 10. So if you're a diehard James Bond fan, go see this. If you want a fun movie that's kind of nonsensical and kind of slogs in the middle, I mean, this is an this is a fun movie, but yeah, it does have its issues, and it is plagued by a nonsensical story that takes itself too seriously, and side characters which serve no purpose other than as plot devices to move the plot forward, which is unfortunate. Anyway, that is my thoughts on the latest James Bond, No Time to Die. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.